We are one sleep away from UFC Noche, Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva, and I'm going to break down this card. Starting with this early prelim opener of Rodrigo Cezinando versus Daniil Donchenko. I personally think Daniil Donchenko is going to win. I really don't know anything about these two. So I'm just going with Daniil. He has a cool first name. Alright, next up we have a smoke break. Then we have Alessandro Costa versus Albin Correa. I'm going to go with Alessandro Costa. This guy's making his debut, and I don't know much about them. Moving on, we have Zachary Reese versus Cedric Dumas. I'm going to go with Zachary Reese to win, mainly because he looked a lot bigger than Cedric Dumas. He's 6'4" at middleweight, so he's going to have a pretty big size advantage, honestly, especially side by side at the weigh-ins. And Cedric Dumas has been living a weird life, getting in trouble a lot with the law and outside of the cage. Cedric Dumas was also acting weird at the weigh-ins, just weird body language as a whole, facing off with Zachary Reese. And not much else to it, really. I just don't think he's that passionate towards MMA. So I'm just going with Zachary Reese. Next up, we have Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurul. I'm going to go with Jesus Aguilar. Not much else really to it. I don't know either of these two at all. Next up, we have a piss break. Then we have Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva. I'm going to go with Claudio Puelles. He had a much better performance against Clay Guida. He also got to the point of being able to fight Dan Hooker, and he also took Feresiam to a decision. So I think that just means he's fought a better level of competition, and I think he's just going to win against Joaquim Silva. Next up, we have Jose Daniel Medina versus Dusko Todorovic. I'm going to go with Dusko Todorovic, mainly because Jose looked super out of shape at the weigh-ins. I'll give it to him. He stood from a distance after getting off the scale and shot at Dusko, which added some entertainment, but he looked out of shape, severely out of shape, almost, I'm not going to say Gastelum out of shape because we'll get to him in a second. He just looks like a unk at the barbecue, I'm going to be honest. He looks like I could look over and see him flipping patties on the grill. That's one of my unks right there. I'm sorry, unk, but you're getting fucked up. Moving on, we have Alexander Hernandez versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. After seeing Alexander Hernandez's performance against Chase Hooper, I don't rate it that much, because after seeing that performance, I don't rate Chase Hooper at all. I am absolutely astounded at the level of MMA he has made by having terrible striking. Chase Hooper's performance against Alexander Hernandez was absolutely terrible. Alexander Hernandez is a solid fighter, honestly. I think he's a little bit underrated. He's a crafty vet at this point. Both of them are. But I think Carlos Diego Ferreira has shown better performances recently. It's just going to come down to who's the better unk. And I think that's Carlos Diego Ferreira. And Alexander Hernandez has a really weird body shape, honestly. He looks like a fucking meatball. Honestly, I think the main reason that I'm picking Carlos Diego Ferreira is because of his performance against Mateus Rebecki. I just think after watching that fight, I rewatched it, and I saw that Rebecki is sort of similar to Alexander Hernandez in the sense of how they explode and fight. But Rebecki just has a shit gas tank in that fight. I don't know if he has a shit gas tank, but Carlos Diego Ferreira really took him into deep waters in that fight and got a pretty impressive TKO performance. I don't know if I see that going the same way with this fight, but I just see the same stylistic matchup and sort of the same result, maybe minus the finish. I'm not too sure. But I just know that Carlos Diego Ferreira is going to win this fight. On to the main card, we have Santiago Luna versus Quang Li. I'm going to go Quang Li for absolutely no reason. Alright, moving on, we have Dustin Stoltzfus versus Daniel Cormier. That's not Daniel Cormier, that's Kelvin Gastelum. And he's fighting Dustin Stoltzfus, and I think he's going to win this fight. Mainly because he doesn't care about the diet or the weight cut. He's just coming in to fight. And I think he's probably a better fighter than this guy who I've never heard of. Kelvin's fought Israel, Michael Bisping. He's fought some high-level competition. He fought Robert Whittaker. I just don't think Dustin is that level of comp. And he's better at middleweight than he is at welterweight. Next up, we have Rafa Garcia versus Jared Gordon. I think I'm going to go with Jared Gordon. He's fought much better levels of comp and actually beat them, just been robbed. I think he recently lost the decision to someone that was also a robbery. But Jared Gordon's actually a good fighter. He beat Patty, who's right now like a top 5 lightweight, I think. Jared Gordon is just a better level of fighter than Rafa Garcia and has fought better levels of comp. On to the co-main event, we have Rob Font versus David Martinez. I'm going to go with Rob Font. I don't know why David Martinez is in this position to fight one of the toughest bantamweights that's just been looming in the division. Rob Font just gives everyone a tough battle. I just don't know how David Martinez got himself in this position besides his nationality and the recent win that he got. I don't see him beating Rob Font. Rob Font is a gritty vet, dude. Like, Rob Font has been tested by the top of the bantamweight division for years. And I don't think David Martinez is prepared to fight someone who is that level of comp yet. Like, it's just a mismatch overall, in my opinion. Rob Font is a dangerous guy. I think this is David Martinez's second fight. David Martinez just isn't as proven as Adrian Yanez, as Gene Matsumoto, as these other levels of competition that Rob Font has beat. And the two most recent Rob Font losses have come from Davidson Figueiredo and Corey Sandhagen, who are the top of their divisions, have been champions besides Corey. He might become champion. Maybe not. Rob's a fucking beast. But Rob Font's winning this shit, man. I don't know how this dude's in this position. And it's the year of the Unk. To our main event, we have Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva. I went back and watched both of their fights. I went back and watched some of the Ortega fight. I went back and watched some of the Sadiq Youssef fight. I went back and watched some of the Volk. And I looked back at Gene Silva's fight against Drew Dober and Bryce Mitchell. And here's what I got out of it. And here's the narrative that I'm going to build in this fight. I think Gene Silva's winning this. I think he's going to win by a decision because Diego Lopez is very hard to finish. Diego Lopez has a very good chin. I've seen him take some massive shots off of Volkanovski. He took some really hard shots off of Dan Ige as well. But in hindsight, that Dan Ige fight, that looks bad. Especially because Dan Ige was coming off of like 2 hours notice. And he just got beaten by Pitbull. Which honestly changed my whole narrative on the sport as a whole. The fact that Dan Ige got beat by Patricio Pitbull the way that he did. But Diego Lopez, he has really good boxing. He has really good striking in general. And he's a fantastic fighter. He has fought more proven levels of comp than Gene Silva by far. The levels of comp that Diego has fought makes it really hard to not pick him. Because they're such high level and proven comp. But Gene Silva is very crispy on the feet, very explosive, and a very strong fighter. Like, he latches up submissions on Bryce Mitchell really fast. That guillotine, that front choke, switching into a Darce or something. Like, these were really explosive moves, and I think Gene Silva is probably just going to win this because he's going to be a little bit better on the feet. I think Diego dips his head a lot, and I think Gene Silva throws really good knees and uppercuts. Diego does as well. Gene Silva lowers his hands when he exits the pocket, and I think Diego can catch him in that way as well. The controversy with all the fighting nerds losing, I understand it. And it can play a factor into this with Gene Silva's emotions and mentality going into this fight. He may lose some confidence knowing that his teammates just lost, a lot of them. Although Carlos Pratas did get his win back, I do think the losses of all the fighting nerds have really blinded people of the real skill that Gene Silva possesses, and I think he's going to show that in this matchup. I think Diego is, although very fundamentally good, I feel like Gene Silva just has more tools in the arsenal. He's very fluid. He builds in his fights, which plays into this, because Diego won't get knocked out. Well, maybe he will, I don't know. But Gene Silva builds into his fights. He finds some really good opportunities in these exchanges. And to truly wrap it up, I just picked Gene Silva because I think it's his time at this point. I think he is really flowing right now in his fights, and I think he's going to flow in this fight. I do think this is a really tough fight to pick because Diego is really good. But I think he's going to lose this fight. And I think Gene Silva wins this mainly by... I think he can win by sub. Diego Lopez has a weak neck. The way that Diego dips his head, I think he can also get caught in some sort of sub. I see Diego getting stunned early in this fight, and I see him just losing overall to a decision because he gets stunned on the feet, but he's not going to get knocked out, and he's going to create enough opportunities to just take it to a decision. I don't think his calf kicks are going to be a difference, despite them being really good, and he could affect Gene Silva with them. I just think Gene Silva is going to come out explosive. I think he's going to really tag up Diego Lopez. Who knows, we might get to see someone get put away here, which is what I hope to see, but I think it's going to be a really good fight. So yeah, subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more picks.